Hey guys, me, Tom Carter / Indexsonic, and today we are here going to review Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, Out of the Shadows. That's a very long title, isn't it? As you normally know, if you listened to one of my reviews before, I'll talk about it and then I will go into the spoiler details. So this review will contain spoilers, but I will mention it when I come to the spoiler bit of the review. Right, let's just start out straight from the bat here that Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2 was a lot of fun. It was entertaining. It was a fun film for me personally. It was so much fun. This film will entertain you. You will have a lot of fun by going to see this film. Why? Because it actually knows what it is and it doesn't hold back from it. It knows that it's a silly concept. You got a bunch of mutant turtles who are ninjas running around New York stopping ninjas, space aliens and all sorts in this film. It is so much fun, this film, from start to finish. Yeah, all the turtles, Leo, Raph, Mikey, Don, they all are really spot on in this film, and I think they've done a better job with them this time to give them more unique character person traits, and they did work out some of the kinks with them in the first film. In this one, they really have solid their characters, and when I watched them I went, yeah, that's Raph, and I went, yes, that's Leo, yes, that's Don, yes, that's Mikey. They got their character traits so spot on in this film, and I love it. There was a very weird bit though at the very start of the film when it opens up. If you've seen the 2007 one, the CGI turtle film, they open up and when you see the turtle come up with a name and all that sort of thing, and it was kind of weird considering that this is a sequel and you put this in a sequel and people going to see this film will know who they are. It's kind of weird, like it came up with like Leo, the leader, Raph, the muscle, Don, the brains, and Mikey, the pizza lover sort of thing. Weird creative choice, but it was only there. It didn't bother me, to be honest, but it's worth mentioning. With the rest of the cast as well, Stephen Amell as Casey Jones, he was alright, he wasn't bad, he was quite spot on with most of the part, but there was a massive change to his character. In this film, he's a cop, he's a police officer trying to become a detective. That is one of the biggest character change for the character. Whether or not that's a good one or a bad one, that's down to your preference to that. I didn't mind it, but I know some people will. You do lose that little bit of more key interest with Casey Jones in that sense, with the backstory, but they got some tax stuff there and everywhere. Megan Fox as April. Well, she was good. She was fine. I had no problem with her. I didn't mind her in the first film. I don't mind her here. She was pretty much as good as was in the first film. Maybe a bit better, but overall she wasn't bad either. And you really get that sense of urgency from this time that she's a reporter and she wants to get the clue sort of thing. She wants to find out what's going on and help the turtles as much as possible. And even put herself at risk in various situations. Tyler Perry as Baxter Stockman. This was a weird choice when I heard it. I don't know Tyler Perry that well. I know he's a comedian and he's an actor. I don't know a lot about him personally. But people who did see this were a bit up in arms about it. Okay, why Tyler Perry? But he does an alright job. He reminds me of Baxter Stockman from the recent cartoons out at the moment, the 2012 show. And that reminded me of that version of Baxter Stockman. Quirky, a bit jokey, but a bit serious at the same time. It's like a merger of like different versions of him, but he seemed to do an alright job and he was funny. And he had this cynicism about him, like he's smarter than everyone else. Very well portrayed. Then we got the new guy, Brian T. as Shredder in this film. He did a good job. He came across a menacing, he had this crazy look in his eye, but he was done well. There's problems with him, but I get into that when we get into the spoiler bit of this review, along with Cry as well. So yeah, overall this film has plenty of action, plenty of drama, you get the good comedian bits, you get funny moments, you get intense moments, you get this brotherhood between the turtles. Splinter there as his master, he does what needs to be done to keep them on track and keep them level-headed and just be a father figure and their master. April, and the plot's pretty solid as well. Yes, the Krang do come out of nowhere, but it's like, okay, we move on with the plot. It focuses on the Foot mainly, trying to help the Krang come to Earth, and the Turtles have to stop him, and it is a very fun action-packed film from start to finish. So it's a popcorn flick nonetheless, but it is really much fun when you sit down, you watch this film, and you know what, you are entertained from start to finish. Even if the film just under the 2 hour mark, I didn't felt like it for me, but it was so much fun. Why other films, aka X-Men Apocalypse or Batman v Superman for that case, are not fun. They take themselves way too seriously and it just drags. This film, on the other hand, does not take itself too seriously. It doesn't drag because it doesn't take itself so seriously. It knows when to have fun, it knows when it can lighten up, it knows when to be serious, and it knows when it needs the action, the drama, and the suspense for it. Now we're going to go into the spoiler territory here. So if you haven't seen the film, don't watch on from here, because everything I'm going to say is going to be spoilers that happen in the film, and I'm even going to give a load of stuff away as well. Right, as normal, I'm going to go into the cons first. What was wrong with this film? Right, I tell you what's wrong with this film. And the big problem with this film that stands out as a sore thumb very, very early on are the Krang. Right, it's literally just Krang by himself there within the Technodrome. And that's pretty much his plan. His plan is basically to bring the Technodrome to Earth to take it over. They do this because Shredder and Baxter Stockman find this piece of this portal generator that can transport stuff through different dimensions, and this is the problem. They don't explain too well where this portal technology come from. It's that, yes, there is like a 2-year gap, and I think they do kind of mention it, but they don't bring it up. But it feels like I missed a film in between of these films, because I feel like a lot of stuff has happened. They do bring you up to speed with it, but it's like very jarring when you're watching it for the first few seconds. You're like, okay, yep, this is happening. And then it goes into this whole sequence about Krang comes in, as this happened you see it in the trailer. Shredder's escape is being escaped from the prison van. Because that whole sequence where you see him chasing after the car on the motorbikes with the ninjas and the Turtles chasing him in their turtle van. By the way, very cool. They're trying to release Shredder, and it doesn't go well for the Foot, because the Turtles are there, they're screwing it up for them. So as a last minute resort, Baxter Stockman decides that he's going to use this portal generator to transport him back to where he is, and instead it gets interrupted and it transports him to the Technodrome, inside the Technodrome, with Krang there. Krang was done alright. It was very, very jarring to hear Brad, I hope I'm saying his name right, Brad Gatti, as the voice of Krang. For those that don't know, he plays Raymond's older brother in Everyone Loves Raymond. It's kind of weird. I'm expecting Krang to shout out and say, "Mom, Raymond's being a dick to me again." But it was weird. It was jarring, but I got through it quite easily. But Krang wasn't really there that much in the film. He's basically turns up, and then he's at the first act of the film, and then he doesn't turn up until the third act of the film. So he doesn't turn up until the very end of the film, which is kind of disappointing. So yeah, Shredder and Krang form this partnership, and you think to yourself, okay, right, Shredder, you're trusting this random evil alien that's come out of nowhere, who's obviously not trustworthy at all, and you're going to trust him on the same principle, is that he's going to promise you can rule the world with him. Okay, fair enough. And while we're on the topic of Shredder and T.C.R.I, right, the Foot ninjas actually look like Foot ninjas this time. They don't look like random mercenaries, and I didn't see one of them wielding a gun in this film at all, and I think that was the biggest gripe in the first film, that they use way too many guns. And this one, they look like ninjas, and they all wear black, and they have swords and katanas, nunchucks, and they look like ninjas, which was so good. And Shredder, oh my god, Shredder. He doesn't do a lot in this film. He basically stands around, barks orders, and pretty much sends Bebop and Rocksteady on mission to do stuff. Even T.C.R.I doesn't do anything. Baxter Stockman does more than Shredder in this film, weirdly. Shredder, he's played well. The Brian T does a good job as Shredder, but he isn't given much to do. Literally, he gets put on ice by the end of the film. We don't even see him get in a conflict with the Turtles in this film. I think he doesn't even meet the Turtles in this film this time around. He doesn't even fight them. He doesn't fight anyone. It's really disappointing. And Cry gets more action. And even then, they don't even say that this new woman is Cry. Because they replaced the actress from the first film. They replaced her with a new actress. And she's there. They don't even say her name. No one says her name. It's like, okay, she's female, she's Asian, she's Cry. Now I've got some little nitpicks that with this film, just in general. The little nitpicks I had that the Turtles do act a little bit goofy at times, but yet again, they're Turtles. I think they do make them pull a little bit silly sometimes, but yet again, they are silly just in general, and the whole concept's silly, you know? So I can let that one slide. Then there's also this whole subplot that they can turn themselves into humans, and that does kind of go in places, like they bring up, but they don't bring up again for the whole entire film, and when they do bring up, it's resolved really quickly. But there is a good moment about it, question their judgment, their loyalty, their teamwork and stuff like that. That works. But the whole stuff, them turning into humans, they advertise that big in the trailers, but they don't really do anything with it. The other con I had is the little nitpick, but I know some die-hard Turtle fans, and also die-hard comic fans and through film people, will bitch at this a lot. It didn't bother me, but my god, it did bother me by the end of the film. But it was Stephen Amell's character. Right, he's a cop. I get that. I don't mind that bit. The bit I did mind was that, you know the bit when he wears the hockey mask and he says April? Yes, that's the only time he wears the hockey mask for the whole entire film. I know that's a minor nitpick, but my god, he does not wear that hockey mask at all. He wears it in that one sequence and that's it. You don't see him wear it again at all. And it is kind of lackluster. And he doesn't even use the hockey stick that much, or the bats and stuff like that. He's more of a cop, so it's interesting in that sense. And he doesn't really gain that friendship with the Turtles. He kind of does towards the end, but throughout it, you don't see the growth of it. That's the problem with his character. But there was a reason why he was so dedicated to get Bebop and Rocksteady and Shredder, was because he was one of the cops that was in the transport vehicle inside the main van transporting Shredder and Bebop and Rocksteady. And that's how Shredder gets away, because of thanks of Bebop and Rocksteady. It was like, okay, he has this reason, and they gave him good reason, and the reason is fine. Personally, I thought that they could at least just mention that he had a rough childhood, he had a rough upbringing, but they don't even mention that. They just mention that it was kind of forcing. He said, yeah, I'm a cop, I'm going to be the detective, when the commissioner's having a go at him and everything like that, and she's basically saying that, trying to keep undermining him and keep calling him an idiot and stuff like that, and it was kind of weird. He really had no closure in this film, but he did a good job, Stephen Amell as Casey Jones, though. And the film probably a little bit too long for its own good. They could have cut down some stuff and took out some goofy bits. Now let's go into the pros of this film, and I'm going to start off with my favourite one in this one. Oh my god, Bebop and Rocksteady, played by Seamus and Gray Williams, did a fantastic job in this film. Oh my god, they are spot on to their comic book counterparts, their cartoon versions from the 80s. They were Bebop and Rocksteady incarnate, and they were so spot on. They were so much fun. They goofed around. They kept trying to impress Shredder all the time. They worshipped him, and they loved being like a rhino and a warhog and everything like that. And that was fun. That was really, really fun. And it was really well done, and how they turned into Bebop and Rocksteady was a bit eerie, but it was like, okay, yep, that's fine. I don't have any problem with it, but I'm going to mention it. It's a tiny problem, but when they get shot with the mutagen, apparently it unleashed an animal gene inside the human brain that unleashed their animal instinct sort of thing from back from where they evolved from. So that's kind of weird, but oh well, I don't mind it. But it was so much fun watching these two on screen. They was just such a riot to watch. They were funny. They were fun. They had plenty of action. They fight with the Turtles. They had a fight with Casey Jones. it was just so much fun watching these guys, and it's a fantastic job, and I hope they get these two back to do a third film with, because they were so much fun. And these two were one of the biggest highlights of the film, to be honest. And it's like, it was so much fun, especially the bit in You See in the Train with them riding a tank, going down a river and shooting at the turtle. That sequence is the equivalent of the sequence in the first film when they're going down the snowy mountain. That was a fantastic action sequence. And in this film, they recreated them going down a river, fighting on bits of plane and cargo. So much fun. And action driven as well. And it was just really good. Also, the Turtles were done really well in this film. They had a little bit of a cosmetic change on what they're wearing and what they're doing, and you can distinguish them. They added these weird tattoos on their back. I wouldn't say tattoos, but like paint markings on them, like in Japanese symbols and stuff like that. So I thought that was kind of cool, and the portrayal of them, you could tell each one of them apart, and they basically distinguish them from who they are, from the characters, like Leo as the leader, Don as the brains, Raph as the muscle, and Mikey as this goofball type of character. And they all were really well done, and they were fun to watch on the screen, and the CGI effects were pretty much the same as the first one, slightly improved, but they look really well. The same with Bebop and Rocksteady as well. So the whole main plot of this film now is that it takes a few years after what happens, and the Turtles are basically going around. They go to a basketball game in New York, watching the New York Flickers. I want to say that's correct. If not, I'm going to get killed in the comment section. But it was really, really fun to watch going to see this basketball game, and Will Arnett's there as Vernon, and they bring you up to speed really, really quickly in this film, what's been going on and what happened in the previous film with Shredder and with Eric Sachs, stuff like that. That's the only time you're going to see Eric Sachs in the film, when they basically at the basketball game, you see a news reporter there, and essentially what Vermin is now, if the best way I can describe it, if you've seen Dragon Ball Z, there's a character called Hercule, or Mr. Satan in that, or Mr. Saturn, it depends how they pronounce it, but essentially they see him as this world savior to beat Shredder and stuff like that, and it was really fun, and Will Arnett plays up to it, and he's so funny, Will Arnett, and he's really good in this film, and he plays up to this like arrogant, Gordonistic sort of thing. It's sort of like if Job, his character from Arrested Development, just became, well, this famous superstar sort of thing, and he plays up to that. It was really much fun, and he did stuff in this film as well, which he did a lot more in this film to help out the Turtles than he did in the first one. You can take that as a minor nitpick from me, saying that, oh, okay, everyone believed that he's the reason he stopped the Shredder and the Foot from taking over New York. Okay, fair enough. Bit of a hard pill to swallow, but, you take it for what it is. And also, the soundtrack in this film is really cool, really up-tempo, lots of fun and energy to it. The visuals, quite nice, and cinematography, very nice as well. There's some nice shots in it. CGI, bit janky in places, but not the worst I've ever seen. It blends in well, unlike some films which stands out like a sore thumb. I'm looking at you, Batman v Superman, with your special effects. The final fight sequence with Casey versus Bebop and Rocksteady is a lot of fun. The Turtles taking on Krang was a lot of fun as well. The one with Krang is over and done with very quickly. I wouldn't say too quickly, but it went on long enough, but it should have gone on a bit longer, if you know what I'm saying. Also, there's some nice little turtle Easter eggs, and even a Transformers Easter egg, so keep an eye out for those. They're really fun to spot. So yeah, overall, this film was a lot of fun. It was entertaining, it had a lot of action, had a lot of drama, and it wasn't boring. Thank God it wasn't X-Men Apocalypse boring, but it was a lot of fun, and it deserves a lot more credit than it is. I know not many reviews are out for it yet, or there's probably going to be more reviews out by the time when this goes up, but it's a lot of fun. You definitely should go and see it. Personally, if I was reviewing the first one, I would only give that a 5 out of 10, but for this one, I'm going to have to give it a solid 7 out of 10. This film raised the bar a bit more than the previous one, and I know some people are going to disagree with me on this, but this film was just entertaining and it was fun. It wasn't like mind-blowing. It was going to make me thought I can easily just go in, sit down, watch this film and just be entertained and don't have a problem with it. Yes, it was a bit long in places and it could have been cut down in places, and it does have its problem with Shredder in the foot and with Krang, but you know, it was an overall good film. It did so much better. It basically took the mistakes that it made in the first one, rectified them and made it better. So overall, 7 out of 10 for this film. Highly recommend it. Go and see it. Support this film. I would love to see a third film come out of this, and they have left it up for a third one to happen because Krang survives. Shredder is basically back in Dimension X with Krang, and you know, it's going to be a lot of fun to see them come back and actually working together in the next film. So yeah, thank you for watching, and also you want to check out more of my stuff, check out my channel at Indexsonic. So thank you for watching. Bye bye.
Hey guys, Armin here, just reminding you that this video was made possible thanks to patrons. If you guys are interested in supporting us and making sure we keep the lights on, check out our Patreon where you can join other fans in supporting the CBC, delivering content you guys have come to love and expect. And if you can't do that, give us a like and a subscribe. That goes a long way too.